Okay, for your algebra practice quiz, this is, I'm going to go ahead and work out all of them. You may not need me to work out every single one for you, so you can fast forward or skip around with whatever you needed help with. And definitely be sure you check all your answers just to make sure that you're ready for the upcoming quiz. Okay, when you're finding the degree, it just means the total number of exponents out of all the variables combined. So this one, the exponents are just 8. So the degree is the 8th degree, or you can just put 8. On number 2, the degree is x has 2 and y has 3, and it's the total sum of them. So this would be the 5th degree. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, we're going to write this in standard form, and then we're going to classify it. So this is actually going to be 2 different parts. Be sure you do both parts. So standard form means the biggest exponent comes first, which would have the biggest degree. So since the 3x squared has a degree of 2 and the 4x only has a degree of hidden 1, the 3x squared should have been written first. So it has higher priority. So 3x squared, and then that's a positive 4x. So this is the first part, which is writing it in standard form. And now we're going to classify it. Remember, anything squared is called quadratic. I know it seems like quadratic should be to the 4th power because your quads or anything that starts quad means 4. But as we get into more quadratic functions in the next chapter, you'll see why something squared is actually considered quadratic. So since the term on the exponent is 2, it's a quadratic. And since there are 2 parts, 2 terms, it is a binomial. So you need both. You need to write the word quadratic and binomial, and that is its classification. So we rewrote it in standard form, and then we classified it as a quadratic because of the exponent and a binomial because there are 2 terms in the problem. All right, number 4, same thing, standard form and classify. So for standard form, the exponent 3 is the biggest, so that needs to come first. So 2p to the 3rd should be written first. The next highest level of priority would be the 7p squared, so plus 7p squared. And then the last one would be the minus 3p. So this is the first part of the answer. And then the second part of the answer is classifying it. So the 3 on the exponent of this first term makes this a cubic. And because there are 3 different terms, this makes it a trinomial. So this would be a cubic trinomial. All right, number 5 is add or subtract. So if you're adding, that's the easiest one because all you're going to do is look across this trinomial and combine your like terms. So you've got a 1x squared here plus 3x squared here. So 1x squared plus 3x squared is 4x squared. Then you've got a positive 6x and a positive 7x. So plus 6x plus 7x is plus 13x. And then you've got an 11 plus 4, which is 15. There you go. So literally, if you're adding, it's just combining like terms. So you guys might be able to hear my dog barking right now. I'm sorry about that. This one is a little bit trickier because when you're adding, you have to make sure that you can combine them. I could combine these x squareds because they're like terms because they both have a 2 on it. I don't see any other thing right now that is cubed. So I'm looking across all of these terms and none of them are cubed. So the 5w to the 3rd is just going to be on its own. Don't combine it with any other like terms. There aren't any. Okay, the 3w squared can be combined with the 7w squared, so that'd be 10w squared. The 8w and the 3w can be added, that'd be 11w. And then the 2 plus the 1 is 3. All right, it gets a little tricky on number 7 because subtracting is a totally different story. When you're subtracting, you're actually distributing that negative to all 3 terms in the second set of parentheses. So what I like to do is I like to change each of these terms and put it underneath it so that I'm not confused with there being a plus in front of this 7q or a plus in front of this 5, because actually after I distribute it, that's going to be a minus and that is also going to be a minus. So this should be negative 2q squared. This should be negative 7q. And this should be negative 5. And then I'm just going to scribble it all out, including the negative sign, the subtraction sign. Because now that I've gotten rid of that subtraction sign, I can do it exactly how I did these and just add. So now that I've gotten rid of that minus, I'm just going to add the whole thing. I'm just going to combine the like terms. So I've got a 4q squared plus a negative 2q squared, which would be 2q squared. I've got a plus 10 and a minus 7q, which would be plus 3q. And then I've got a positive 7 and a minus 5, which positive 7 minus 5 is positive 2. And that's that. So in case you forgot, let's go through it again. If it's subtracting, you really have to distribute that negative through. So this is actually going to be negative 3t squared, and that's going to be plus 6t, and that's going to be plus 4, because negative times negative is going to change those to positives. So then I'm just going to scribble it out, and I'm going to add to combine my like terms. I almost combined these, but this one has a power of 4 and this one has a power of 2, so they are not like terms. So actually my 9t to the 4th is going to be on its own. Then I'm going to bring down my negative 3t squared, because there's nothing else squared that I can see. And then I've got a 5t plus 6t, that those are like terms. So that would be plus 11t. And then lastly, positive 8 and positive 4 is plus 12. All right, moving on to multiplying. This is a monomial being multiplied by a binomial, so all it's doing is distributing. So you are just going to multiply by distributing. So 6 times 4 is 24. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Remember our previous unit of what happens when you multiply variables with exponents. The exponents get added. So this is x to the 4th now. 6 times 3 is positive 18. And don't forget the x squared goes with it. So there you go. Number 10. We're distributing this as well. So this is another pretty simple one. Just take it slow and be sure you're distributing everything correctly. The numbers get multiplied. So negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. And the variables, the exponents get added. So 3 plus 2. Okay, so the numbers get multiplied. So negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. And then the variables the exponents get added. So 3 plus, there's a 1 there. So that'd be 4. Numbers get multiplied. Negative 8 times negative 9 is positive 72, I think. And there's no variable. So the c to the 3rd comes with it. All right. Factoring is exactly the opposite of this. So basically we're going to take 10 and 11. And in 10, we distributed to get one big answer. And in 11, we have the one big answer. And we're going to pull a number out front and put the rest of it in parentheses, like basically reverse distribution. So we're going to find the greatest common factor of all three of these terms. So they definitely all have a b. So b is going to be one of the factors. But what number can you divide evenly out of 16, 8, and 20? If you're not sure, you can write a list of factors off to the side, but hopefully this one was easy enough for you to realize that 4, I was going to say 8, because 8 goes into 16 and 8 goes into 8, but 8 won't go into 20. So 4, though, will go into all three. So we're going to pull out a 4 and a b, because there's a b on each one. Now, we can only pull out one b, because you can only pull out the most that each one has, and the most that this one has is just a single 1. So the greatest common factor of all three terms is 4 and just a b. So then we're going to put the parentheses, and all you're doing here is reverse distributing. You're thinking of what would be the three terms inside here, that when we distribute it, you would get this, this, and this. So 4b times what is 16b to the 4th? 4 times 4 is 16. And you've already got 1b here, and you need it to be 4 total. So it would be 3 left on this one. All right, then we'll put plus, because there's a plus. 4b times what is 8b squared? 4 times what is 8? 2. There's already a b here, and we need it to be 2 total, so we'll need a b on this one as well. B times b would be b squared. 4 times 2 would be 8. All right, 4b times what is 20b? I hope you remembered it was just 5. There's no b on there because when you distribute it, the b would already come from this 4 to get the 20b, and that's it. So again, factoring 10 and 11 are the exact same problems, but opposite. So when you're factoring it, you're pulling out the greatest common factor and basically reverse distributing. But when you're simplifying, when you're distributing, you're coming up with the bigger answers. This is before it was factored. Okay, let's try to factor again. What is the greatest common factor that will come out of 12, 30, and 42? It is going to be 6, I think. Yes, 6. So 6 will come out of all 3 of these. So we're going to pull it out and put it out front. It can't be an x because this one doesn't have an x on it. So we can't pull out an x with it. So 6 times what is 12x to the 4th? 6 times 2 is 12, and you've got all 4 still on this one. Okay. 6 times what is 30x to the 3rd? 6 times 5 is 30, and we need all x to the 3rd on this one because there's none on the 6. And then minus 7, because 6 times 7, negative 7, is negative 42. All right, number 13, you can choose your favorite method of multiplying these binomials. You can do box method, you can do FOIL, you can do distributive. It does not matter. I'm going to do a little of both FOIL and box. I'm not going to do distributive. You can, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to start by foiling. So I'm going to do first times first, which x times x is x squared. Outsides are 9 times x, which is just 9x. Insides are 3 times x, which is just 3x. And then lasts are 3 times 9, which is 27. Remember, when you FOIL, those middle 2 terms, the O and the I from FOIL, are like terms almost always. So be sure to simplify, combine them to get your final answer. 9 plus 3 is 12. Yep, plus 27. There you go. This is the final answer. It needs to be simplified. All right. I did FOIL here. I'll do box here, just so we can have a good review. So I'll make a little 2x2 box because it's a binomial times a binomial. So I'm going to put the 4b and the negative 1 up here, and the b and the negative 8 down the side. All right, 4b times b is 4b squared. B times negative 1 is negative 1b. I'm just going to keep it on it for now. When I simplify, if that was a 1 or a negative 1, I'd get rid of it. Negative 8 times 4b is negative 32b. And negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. Remember, when you do the box method, the diagonal ones are usually like terms, just like the middle ones when you FOIL them are like terms. These middle ones are like terms. So combine them to get your final answer, 4b squared. Negative 32 minus 1 is negative 33b, and then plus 8 because that's a positive 8. All right. I did FOIL, I did box. I'm going to do FOIL on this one as well. So FOIL is first times first. 4m times 6m is 24m squared. Outsides would be negative 7 times 4m, which is negative 28m. Insides are 2 times 6m, which is 12m. And then lasts are 2 times negative 7, which is minus 14. Remember, middle 2 are like terms. So you've got final answer, 24m squared. Negative 28 plus 12, I don't know what that is. Use your calculator. Negative 16. So minus 16m and then minus 14. All right, let's look at the second page. So you can either distribute here and take the h and distribute it through all 3 of these terms, and then take the 2 and distribute it through all 3 of these terms and then add them all up. Or you can do a box method. I'm going to choose to do a box method. So I'm going to do a long box because it is a trinomial. Trinomial, there it is, by a binomial. So I need a 3x2 box. And my trinomial is going to go across the top because that's where my 3 boxes are. So 3h squared, 1h. I'll go ahead and put the 1 with it for now. And then minus 7, negative 7. And then down the side, I've got h and 2. So h and 2. All right, you're just going to go through and multiply to fill in the boxes. So 3h squared times h is 3h cubed. H times h is h squared. H times negative 7 is negative 7h. 2 times 3h squared is 6h squared. 2 times h is just 2h. And 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Don't forget to look for like terms. Those can be added. So I see this is a like term. I'll go ahead and put a 1 on there so I'm not confused when I'm adding those. And then these are also like terms. So my final answer is 3h to the third. 6h and plus 1h squared can get added. So that would be plus 7h squared. 2h minus 7h is negative 5h. And then you've got your minus 14. It's a big answer. Be sure you've got all the parts. Okay, when you are simplifying a binomial that's just being squared, there are some shortcuts. I'm going to review real quick the shortcut with you. If you're squaring a binomial, you can square the first term, which would just be r squared. You can multiply the 2, so r times 3 would be 3r, and double it. So 3r and 3r, if I double it, is 6r. And then you can square the last term, which 3 squared is 9. So that is the shortcut of squaring a binomial. If you forgot how to do that, I really want you to know that r plus 3 squared just means r plus 3 times r plus 3. And you can FOIL it or box it or do whatever you like, and you're going to get this same answer. Okay, the shortcut for number 18 is if you have a k plus 5 and a k minus 5, k minus 5 and k plus 5, the outsides and the insides, if you were to FOIL it, are going to cancel each other out. Because look, k times 5 is 5k, and negative 5 times k is negative 5k. And when you combine those two like terms, 5k minus 5k is 0. So they're going to cancel each other out. So the shortcut is you just have to square the first numbers. K times k is k squared. And square the last numbers. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Or you can go ahead and work it out. You can FOIL it, box it, do whatever you like just to check your work. We've got the same thing on 19 that we had on 18. 3D plus 10 and 3D minus 10 means that the outsides and the insides are going to cancel each other out. So all I really need to do is square the firsts and square the lasts. So 3D times 3D is 9d squared. Again, if you're not sure, if you're like, I would not have put 9, or I would not have remembered my squared, go ahead and box this or FOIL it or do whatever you like when you multiply binomials, and you're going to get this answer. I'm just showing you, reminding you the shortcut. And 10 times negative 10 is negative 100. All right, in fact, you know what? I'll do number 20 the way that if you forget how to do it and you just want to write it all out on the test, the way you might want to do it. So number 20, let's say I forgot how to do this and I want to FOIL it. It would be a 2m minus 7 times another 2m minus 7. So let's say I forgot that you could just do a shortcut. Oh, actually, I don't know if you would have remembered this. When you square it, you have to square the 2 and the m. So this would have been 4m squared if you're doing my little shortcut. So actually writing it out and FOILing it might be a better way to do this and not make a silly little mistake, because when I FOIL this, 2m times 2m, I know that's 4m squared. But would you have remembered that by just doing my little trick? I hope so. Okay, so then outsides are 2m minus 7, which is minus 14m. Insides are negative 7 times 2m, which is negative 14m again. And then lasts are negative 7 times negative 7, which is positive 49. Remember that when you FOIL, the O and the I are like terms, so combine those. And the final answer should be 4m squared minus 28m plus 49. And again, if you had done my just little squaring trick, here, I've got room down here. Let's say you see this on the test and you're like, oh yeah, I know that if it's a number, if it's a binomial squared, I just need to square the first term, but that means both parts. So that would be 2 to the 2 and 2 to the m, so 4m squared. And then if you remember, you have to take both terms and multiply them. So 2 times negative 7 is negative 14m, and you have to double it. So negative 14m and negative 14m is negative 28m. And then you have to take the last term and square it. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. So again, basically what you're doing is a quicker method of FOIL. However you want to show your work and do it is fine by me. Okay, the last problem is a word problem. It says it's a birdhouse that has a square base. Okay, what you need to know about squares are they all four have the same side lengths. So if it says the side length is 3x minus 4, then that means all four side lengths are 3x minus 4 because that's what a square means. So if it says what represents the area, I hope you guys remember that the area is length times width. So I want the length times the width. And if the length is 3x minus 4 and it's a square, then that means the width has to also be 3x minus 4. So what they're saying in a fancier way is that 3x minus 4 is going to be squared because length times width is 3x minus 4 times 3x minus 4. So you can either FOIL this, box it, you can do my little squared trick as long as you remember to give it to both the 3 and the x. However you want to do this to solve it is fine by me. So I'm going to do the little square it trick. So 3 squared is 9, x squared is x squared, so just 9x squared. I'm going to multiply both terms, 3x and negative 4, which is negative 12x, and I'm going to double it. Negative 12x and negative 12x is negative 24x, and then I'm going to square the last term, which is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Okay, and again, if you wanted to go ahead and box this or FOIL it, you would get this same final answer that I did with just the little shortcut.